tables. Yeah. Yeah, we moved all that out there.
Some protests.
It used to be rag
Across the street.
August would get
And I said, I wonder what I'm going to have to look at for the next 50 years. And Roger just laughed and he said, good for you, Catherine, for being so optimistic.
I did take a zero tech, but I should have taken
And then I
it
laughed
earlier
and said,
today.
okay.
That's good.
Well, I didn't want to say 20.
Seconds away.
Hey, how are you?
Seen how red card.
Try not to cough or sneeze.
Jeez.
Alex is killing me.
It's killing me. So I don't get in the house and all
The thing is that you can spray it weak, pressure washed, or it'll be cleaner. You can just write your name on it all over.
caked on everything. Big turnout today. What's going on? What am I missing here?
Well, this is one thing, even though it's not set yet, it's just that people might come in advance. And this
Okay,
is
folks, let's
something,
do this.
you know, this is,
Good evening and welcome to the regular meeting of the Weaverville Town Council on May 19th, 2025. First thing up for this evening is a public hearing regarding the code amendments, Chapter 20, regarding conditional districts. No one has signed up to speak on this issue. It's your last chance. Anyone want to speak on this particular issue? If there is not, it'll come up later on in the discussion and action items, and I'll have James Zeller, our planning director, give you an update on that at that point. Council members, you've had an opportunity to review the agenda. I would like to make an adjustment to the agenda that we add a budget item discussion as item A under actions, under action items this evening. Is there anyone who make a motion to approve the agenda with the said adjustments?
I'll make a motion.
Thank you. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you very much. I also like to inform the council that you may not remember this because we've had such a tumultuous year, but about a year ago, we actually started the process of updating our strategic plan, and we went through the first couple of steps. We had a workshop, and we did a SWOT analysis, et cetera. So recently, Scotty and myself and Councilman Lawrence have gotten together to actually put those, to start writing on that thing. And as it turns out, there is a revision to the comprehensive land use plan, which the planning board will be working on, and they will be reporting out to us in the November-December time period. There's also the county's long-term recovery plan, which you heard Rachel Sawyer from the county discuss with us, I think, last meeting. That too will also be done approximately in the November, December time period. So we create a timeline. So all these plans are going to be reflective of each other and impact each other. And so we are going to write your strategic plan and get it to you sometime in the fall, with the hope that we can adopt it at the same time period as the other plans I just mentioned. So I just wanted to keep you up to date on that. And so you'll be hearing more from us soon on that with regard to that item. It is important for all members of the council to report any conflicts of interest or the appearances of such. Is there any council member has any conflicts of interest with items on tonight's agenda? Good deal. Number 5 on our agenda is the consent agenda, and Town Manager Harris, would you go through the items in tonight's consent agenda for us?
Yes, sir, Mayor, Council. On page 12, you have the March 24th Town Council regular meeting minutes. On page 16, you have the April 15th Town Council regular workshop meeting minutes. On page 18, you have April 28th Town Council regular meeting minutes. On page 22 is our monthly tax report. Buncombe County has provided our revenue growth there. A summary of the monthly tax report is provided and shows that 99.69% of the town's property taxes have been collected as of the end of April, which that totals $4,288,490.73 out of the $4,301,680.25. For April, property tax levy release fund was $1.39, and it's still to be determined on the motor vehicle side. On page 27, you have before you a contract to approve Kirby's Recycling. Kirby Management LLC, known as Kirby, is due to expire at the end of June. Consistent with prior discussion with Town Council, the proposed 5-year contract shifts to a bi-weekly collection schedule in order to keep the pass-through cost to customers down and align with recycling services provided to every other jurisdiction in the county. The proposed cost to customers beginning July 1 will be $3.65 per month, with annual adjustments being based on the CPI, like under the current contract. For comparison, the current rate is $3.79 per month for weekly collection, but will increase to over $7 per month if the town does not alter operations to bi-weekly collection. If a customer needs additional recycling containers, those can be provided with a corresponding additional monthly fee expense. If a customer needs assistance with setting out their containers, then that can be arranged in advance for $2 per month fee. The council is asked to execute the contract with Kirby Recycling consistent with the parameters defined.
Excuse me, Madam Chair, I think, I could be wrong on this, but isn't it semi-monthly as opposed to bi-weekly? Doesn't bi-weekly mean twice a week? If I got that wrong? Bi-weekly? Anyway, it's only going to be twice a month.
Yeah, because I went back and forth on 2. I was like, is it bi-monthly, bi-weekly, bi-weekly? Page 37 is the WBA Social District. The WBA has planned its annual Music on Main event to be held on Saturday, June 14th from 3:30 to 9 p.m. Council's already approved the road closure and is now asked to authorize the Social District for this event. The attached map shows what is planned and where, and there are only minor changes to the Social District map and management plan in order to build on success of last year's event and improve the safety of the event. WBA representatives are here in the audience tonight, and town staff will be able to answer any questions you may have regarding that request. Again, the motion to adopt the ordinance creating the event specific to the Social District for the WBA on Music on Main on June the 14th of 2025. Moving on to page 52, some appointments for the tree board. Town resident term expiring, that member has agreed to be reappointed for a 3-year term. This citizen also serves as chairman of the tree board. There's an alternate member, town resident term expiring, and that alternate member has agreed to be reappointed for a 3-year term. A resignation has been received for a regular member who resides outside the town limits. We received an application for the citizen who also resides outside the town limits. Russ Cantor for reappointment. as a regular member who resides within the town. His term would end on May of 2028. Bill Mobley, reappointment as an alternate member who resides within the town limits for a 3-year term that ending in May of 28. Patrice Sheehan, appointment as a regular member who resides outside the town limits to serve on a vacant seat. That term would expire on May of 26. Moving along to page 54, you've got a waterline acceptance at Encore at Reems Creek, Phase 1. The Encore Reems Creek Townhomes LLC, the owner and developer of the Townhomes projects Encore, is being constructed at 480 Reems Creek Road. Phase 1 of the water lines within development have now been completed, and the town is asked to accept these lines into town public water system. The easement plot that is attached shows the 8-inch water line that was constructed and 20-foot wide easement. The Public Works Director is requesting that council accept the water line extension and related improvements into the town's water system, subject to staff level approval by the Public Works Director, Town Manager, Town Attorney. The Public Works Director also urges Town Council to set a water line repair at $2,500 to cover any defects that might be discovered within 3 years of our acceptance. Upon approval of staff, we'll be working with the owner to get necessary easements and documents in place. Moving along to page 56, you have a proposed audit and contract for Guild Killian, the CPA firm. At the discretion of Town Council, staff negotiated a 3-year contract with Gold Killian for an annual financial audits beginning in fiscal year 23-24. For fiscal year 24-25 will be the year 2 of that contract, with a fee of $29,350 for the audit, plus $5,900 for completion of the annual comprehensive financial report, totaling $35,250. This fee has the expected 2% increase, which is $750 over last year's cost. The town does anticipate that there will be one or more single audits for the federal monies that the town has received or is expecting to receive during this current fiscal year. The Local Government Commission requires that the audit contract estimate the cost of those single audits at $3,900 is included for auditing of the 2 major programs. Attached, you'll find the engagement letter and the contract between the town of Weaverville and Gold Killian CPA for the fiscal year 24-25 audit. That contract binds the town for this 1 year only. This contract must be executed by the town in order for the auditor to provide same to the Local Government Commission. Moving along to page 77, a zoning map amendment application. Staff is in possession of a zoning map amendment application for the property commonly known as 21 College Crescent. The proposal is to rezone the property from R1 to R2. The planning board would deliberate the matter and offer a recommendation to town council on the proposal at the regular June meeting. Staff recommends that council move forward and consider the proposed zoning map. To do so, council must set a public hearing on the matter. We would ask that council move forward to hold a public hearing on June the 23rd at 6 p.m. here in the community room council chambers at Town Hall. Comment on the proposed zoning map amendment, properly commonly known as 21 College Crescent. And Mayor, that concludes the consent agenda item.
Thank you, sir. Are there any questions or comments regarding tonight's consent agenda? If not, is there a motion to accept the consent agenda?
I make that motion.
Thank you. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Great, thank you. Manager Harris, you're up next with your town manager's report.
Thank you, sir. A couple things on the manager's report. Department recognitions recently. April 23rd was Administrative Professionals Day. May 4th through the 10th was Municipal Clerks Week. May 11th through 17th was National Police Week. And this week, May 18th through the 24th, is National Public Works Week, which I'm working with Public Works to go out and do some ride-alongs with their staff, from sanitation to road maintenance and debris pickup, to be able to get out and get involved with them for this week. Memorial Day event, under the guidance of the town's Patriotic Committee and assistance of the town staff, Weaverville will hold its annual Memorial Day observance at the Community Center on Monday, May the 26th at 11 a.m. Our guest speaker will be retired Major General Joseph Skip Garrett III, be speaking at the event that night or that afternoon. For our water treatment plant resiliency project, The bid opening on the generator installment and the chlorine gas conversion projects at the water treatment plant was scheduled for May the 14th. North Carolina law requires that at least 3 bids, and unfortunately not enough were received, so they could not be opened at that time. There are already plans for re-advertisement of the bids with a final bid opening to be held on June the 4th. It is hoped the council will be able to award the bid at that project at our June meetings so that that project can move forward. Waterline replacement project, town staff has been working on a project to replace some of its water lines. This project concentrates on the oldest and most vulnerable to breaks. Matter and Craig has performed the engineering work on this project and is currently out to bid. A bid opening is scheduled for May 29th. If there are enough bids to open, then we would expect to present the bids received at town council for your June meeting. Ask you to award those. Fairway View Estates, town staff was recently contacted by the Fairview View Estates HOA with some questions concerning public streets acceptance, annexation into the town. This is an established subdivision off a private road known as Pug Run in the Reems Creek Road area with approximately 25 homes. With the encouragement of the mayor, the HOA was considering annexation position. The primary motivation of the annexation petition was to have the maintenance of their streets and 2 private sewer pump stations taken over by the town. The challenge to the requests that were discussed with the HOA president include a 15-foot right-of-way of Pug Run does not meet our minimum 30-foot road right-of-way required by the town, and a steep bank on one side and a creek on the other right-of-way acquisition was unlikely. Travel way of Pug Run is not wide enough or built to town standards and would need to be upgraded at a considerable expense. Town does not own or maintain any sewer pump stations, and the town does not have any streets that do not abut a town street or DOT main roadways. For example, as we discussed last month, the island town streets when we were looking at the property behind that encumbers the Walmart area there. At our upcoming town meetings, May 26th, again, reminder of the Memorial Day program, and our town officers will be closed that day. The planning board meeting at 6 p.m. on June the 3rd, town council workshop meeting at 6 p.m. For budget adoption on June the 17th, and our next regular town council scheduled meeting will be on June the 23rd at 6 p.m.
Thank you, sir. Moving on to agenda item 7, which is general public comments. We do have some folks who want to speak to us this evening. And when I call your name, if you would come forward to the podium, state your name and your address. And you have 3 minutes to speak, and at the end of 3 minutes, you'll hear that awful sound that you just heard the manager make, which would mean you need to wrap up your statements. I only ask that you be polite in your statements. First up tonight is Gail Solomon.
Mr. Mayor, members of the council, ladies and gentlemen, I am here tonight as a follow-up to a visit I made a couple of years ago. I was here at the time to speak about an organization called PAPA, Preserving, is it not working?
No, it's working.
Oh, I'm too loud. There goes my theater background. Okay. I was here to speak about an organization called PAPA, Preserving a Picturesque America, which set about raising money to preserve and conserve the beautiful places in western North Carolina, among others. They started with the French Broad River Valley and organized a group of local artists to do a series of paintings that were taken from a book called Picturesque America that was originally published in the 1800s. Their goal was to revisit each of those places, paint them today, in order to raise awareness for the need to conserve these places. One of those places was Lake Louise and our beautiful water wheel. At the time, I tried to encourage the council, with all due respect, to come to an auction that was being held to sell these paintings, raise the money for the organizations that would conserve and preserve them. Regretfully, nobody came, but I was there. And I was razzed at various times, did you buy the painting? Well, I'm here today to say that yes, I did. And my husband and I are here to donate the painting to the town of Weaverville because this is where it belongs. Let me show you. This is the painting that y'all missed out on. Hang on, what? Help. And so, there is a modest condition to the donation. One, we respectfully request that the painting be displayed in the Weaverville Community Center in a prominent place. We also respectfully request that there be a small plaque saying generously donated by my husband, Dick Canty, and me, Gail Solomon. And third, this is subject to negotiation, but I respectfully request that I, Gail Solomon, get to be mayor for the day once a year in perpetuity. As I say, this is subject to negotiation. I have one little footnote to this whole thing. I understand that there is a committee working on, that the current water wheel was so badly destroyed that none of its pieces were usable. And I have put Scott Varn, who runs Preserving a Picturesque America, in contact with the town, because he told me today he has money that he has wanted to give to Weaverville to help preserve the water wheel, and nobody called. So today I put him in contact with the town in the hope that he's able to help in whatever restoration is going on. And furthermore, I understand that you are creating a memorial, in a sense, of the wreckage of the old water wheel and creating a sculpture. Doc has a group of artists that have worked with him throughout the years, and I have asked him to also discuss the possibility of having some of his artists involved in that project. So I hope that you'll give him an ear and certainly take the painting and put it in a beautiful place and let it grace Weaverville forever.
Thank you so much, Ms. Owen. It's very generous on your part.
Thank you.
Thank you again. Next up is Tom Belt.
Tough act to follow. I don't bring a painting. So I'm Tom Belt. I live in 53 Highland Street. Thanks for the opportunity to talk tonight. So I'd like to address the budget and the prospects of a property tax increase for fiscal year 2026 budget. I think that town council should strongly consider at least a 3% or a 3-cent property tax increase, and should strongly consider a 4-cent property tax increase. I think we all recognize it's vital that we maintain the Weaverville quality of life, which we've all become addicted to and love very much. The excellent city services help us in our day-to-day life, but also help us to be prepared for future unexpected and expected challenges. Helene's the most recent unexpected challenge, and I think our town's rapid and effective response recovering from Helene demonstrates the importance of maintaining a very strong human and physical infrastructure, as well as a fiscal infrastructure that allows us to deal with those. Helene will undoubtedly not be the last of this in our lifetime. The next could be wind, water, wildfire, national financial issues, many possibilities. But we've got to be ready for those possibilities. So I think among the many ways to prepare, one way is to maintain a strong fund balance for our city budget. And I noticed that we're planning to tap our fund balance for the upcoming budget. I don't know the underlying issues regarding that, but I do know that as a regular habit for routine operations, that's not a great practice. And if we're going to have to do that, it ought to be associated with some changes that will prevent that from recurring in future years. Finally, there's the expected challenge. The expected challenge we all know about, and it's growth. We're going to talk about the hospital increase, the hospital being built here tonight. And if the bed increase goes up to 200 beds, that's wonderful, but it's going to turbocharge growth. I noticed that several of our managers have made requests for increased resources, both human and physical plant. And I think that while that may be a challenge, I think I'll be done very shortly. I think the council should revisit those requests, and to the greatest extent possible, I think we should fund those requests, because I think those requests were probably at least substantially based on the prospects for growth in this town, and I think we've got to meet those challenges. So I really think 4 cents may be the way we have to go. If it is, it'll be money well spent, and I think if it's explained to the citizens of this community, I think it would be supported. So thanks for your time.
Thank you very much. John Phillips.
Good evening. John Phillips, 8 Valley Drive. I've been a resident of Weaverville for just about 6 years, and I can't say enough positive about the town. There are several things. I was not able to attend the budget meeting that you had a couple of weeks ago, so I wanted to attend tonight to put in my 3 cents, or maybe 4 cents worth. Some of the pros that I see with the town are that, the financial condition of the town thus far has been great. And I agree with the previous speaker that dipping into reserve funds is not a good practice. I'd hate to see that get started. Another area that I see that the town excels in is the services provided. I've never been in a town or lived anywhere where the services are as top-notch as they are here in Weaverville. And if we eliminate or reduce our ability to continue to fund those services, I think it's a step in the wrong direction. And the third thing that I see it's outstanding in Weaverville that I'd like to point out at least is the staff. Everybody that I have dealt with up and down the line in Weaverville has been just outstanding. And if we don't continue to pay people and provide benefits to people, we're going to start losing those staff or seeing a reduction in the customer service that they provide. So I would encourage you to not go lowballing on the budget for next year. I moved here from a town that I won't mention because everybody hates to hear about where you came from, but where I came from, our property values were about half of what they are here. Our taxes were about 3 times what we pay here. So it's a small step for me, and the increase would represent a very small amount in most people's budget. Thank you for your consideration.
Thank you very much. Bo Platt.
Good evening. So I'm Bo Platt, Weaverville resident at Preston Court, and I spoke last week at the budget workshop asking that you consider a tax increase for several reasons. Among them, my impression of the town's employees and their professionalism. I couldn't be happier with that. The town's amenities, parks, public areas, great services and more, and then just Weaverville's reputation. When we started looking in the area, the greater Asheville area, everybody was saying Weaverville, 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 so that's what brought us here. So I'm going to ask you again to consider a tax increase of at least 3 cents per $100 of assessed value for several more reasons. One, growth, like the previous speaker said. We're outgrowing our Lake Louise Park area. We need to look at new locations for natural areas, parks, and recreation. And I'd like to see more activities for middle school, high school age students or residents. We need to ensure our staffing needs are met as continued growth stresses the ability of our town to meet the residents' needs. We need to plan for cost of infrastructure growth, increase staffing size in town departments, as well as buildings and equipment. Weaverville has, like I said, a fantastic reputation. That reputation is reflected in our property values. Any deterioration in the reputation would be negatively reflected in our property values. So, I think I'm like most people. I want fantastic services, and I'd really like to get them free. But that's not the way the world works, and I'm willing to pay a reasonable price to get the great services delivered by highly professional employees. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Darla Latrono?
Darla Laterno at 16 Lakeshore Drive, and I'm here also in support of increasing the property tax in order to have continuation of the wonderful services, great staff that we have here. Like other jurisdictions, Weaverville is dealing with revenue shortfalls and rising costs in the aftermath of Hurricane Helene. Both the Buncombe County and the city of Asheville are proposing tax increases over 3 cents to sustain services. The town's proposed budget, while steady state, does not reflect the reality of Weaverville's rapid growth and the staff and infrastructure needed to keep pace. I want to thank Town Manager Scott and his team for presenting a series of very detailed budget packages over the past 3 months that document not only the challenges facing the town, but the resources needed and the consequences of not providing those resources when they're needed in order to meet these challenges. So that's kind of the basis of my comments. Our population has already increased by 42% in the last 5 years and is projected to increase another 44% by 2030. We've already permitted 1,000 new housing units, about 3,000 new residents, and those developments are already starting to come online and putting pressure on services. In addition, this council has approved annexation of over 834 existing housing units, adding more than 2,400 more residents and expanding the town's service delivery area. Not to mention the growth pressures from the new Advent Health Hospital that haven't even been considered yet. The town manager's budget message makes it very clear. Staff is under pressure now from the growth. Last year, the town was aware of the needs for investment to address growth, but chose to delay those investments until this year, when they assumed, as we all did, that there would be higher property tax revenues coming in due to the county's every 5-year reappraisal process. Unfortunately, the hurricane resulted in a delay until next year of the appraisal process, so the expected revenue increases won't arrive until 2027. I think it's important to understand, as someone else mentioned, that the departments proposed 14 additional positions and only 3 were approved in this budget. And it doesn't include many of the equipment and capital requests needed in order to meet the growth demands. So we're essentially, if we don't change the budget, kicking the can down the road yet another year, and I think that's really dangerous. I think it's very important to understand what's in the documents. It takes 1 to 2 years before either the equipment or the personnel that you've budgeted are online and fully operational. So if you provide in the 26 budget, it could be 2028 before it's there. So we value excellent services. We're willing to pay more. And we ask you, our leaders, to be proactive so that we can meet the needs of the growth and we don't fall behind. Thank you.
Thank you. Jerry Davis? Okay, thank you very much. So thank you for all the speakers. I just got to say, it is I think it is unusual that we have citizens standing up and saying, give me more taxes. So thank you for that. We're going to move on to our agenda item 8, which is a discussion action items. And as I mentioned earlier, we're adding a first item up before we start into the others, which is regarding the budget item. At our last budget meeting, we had directed the town manager to come back with a 2-cent property value increase. Since then, there's been some discussion amongst us and felt that we have not been funding our street repaving program as much as we'd like in the last couple of years. So I'm making a motion tonight that we direct the town manager to increase that to a 3-cent property tax increase, with that extra cent, which translates to $133,000 to be devoted totally towards the street repaving program. So, are there any questions or any discussion about this? All in favor, say aye.
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 Any opposed? Thank you very much. Next up is Advent Health update, and Graham Fields from Advent Health. Would you come and tell us what you all up to?
Well, thank you so much for the opportunity. It wasn't lost on me today. I was here for EMS week visiting Reems Creek Fire Department near where I grew up on Pink Fox Cove, and so to hear such wonderful things about my hometown, that's very, very heartwarming. And Mayor, thank you for the opportunity and the partnership to build a hospital to serve this community. It's probably the honor of my professional career, and I'm coming to you today with an exciting update that I think will mean a lot, not only for Weaverville, North Buncombe, but also for Yancey, Madison, the whole of Buncombe County and Graham County. As you know, we are approved for 93 beds for the hospital. And our goal is to have that built and completed by the end of 2027. And so at this point, we learned that there are 129 additional beds available for Buncombe, Yancey, Madison, and for Graham. And so our message to the community and to our leaders has been, if we can add those beds, if we can build scope and scale, that is an opportunity to bring services to this community and really bring even a higher level of care that would be closer to tertiary care and trauma care. And that process will actually begin now. The application would be due in October, and we've had tremendous support from the community for that. I think folks are looking for options and choices, but I think they're also looking for scale and scope. And when I talk about scale and scope, that could be anything from expanding the emergency department to the level of acuity to cardiology, NICU, others. And so one of the things that I had spoken with the mayor and the manager about, we would welcome a letter of support. You were kind enough as a council to share and support us in previous applications, and we would be honored to have that again. And I'm happy to answer questions. I just wanted to honor the time here. Those beds would be on the same location, the same site, something that we have kind of shared that design preliminarily with you, and would not change a great deal in terms of height or the visual of the site itself, but would be 222 beds total.
Are there any questions or comments for Mr. Fields?
I recall seeing something where it mentioned a total of 300 beds when all of it. Was that misinformation or what?
I don't know about the 300, but that's my North Buncombe High School math. You know, it's just, it could be me, but it would just be the 93 plus 129. So at that point, I've got it at just over 220. You know, maybe that was a rounding. Certainly we'd love to grow, but I don't think that's in the plan at this point.
Just wanted clarification.
Thank you.
I have a question.
Yes,
Early on, before all of this, when this was just starting, you did a presentation at the community center.
Yeah.
And you invited the public, and you had laptops set up where we could individually send letters.
Yeah.
Can you individually send letters?
Absolutely. And it's really sort of that process of making sure that you are our key stakeholder. And I don't mean that to sound like a salesman, but this community is our literal and proverbial neighbor, and we're sort of partners in this. And so I wanted to be forthcoming and share and engage. This whole process will play out with community listening sessions, the opportunity to really have conversations and input to shape that, but absolutely, and really try to keep everybody updated. It's probably step 2 and 3 down the line, but absolutely, we would be honored as it gets going to have letters of support from the community, and frankly, we'd be happy to make that easy, whether it be online or a QR code, and then folks can express their feelings either way.
And I believe you have a similar meeting scheduled this week, correct?
I do. I have one where we're bringing in a lot of the county officials from around the area, just letting them take a look at some of the designs while they're still, as I call it, soft clay. So it could be where the parking lot goes. It could be, where the trees and sight lines and other things. So that is coming up. And actually, thank you very much for allowing us to use what I'm calling the community center at Lake Louise. But that's I don't know its official title, but I felt like I should get up here and say Pink Fox Cove, Graham Fields. I've been here for 45 years, I thought that would be fun.
Any other questions or
So
comments?
your meeting is Thursday?
Thursday.
At the community center?
Yes.
At what time?
So we have a meeting that's more for EMS, our friends in fire and law enforcement, sort of the county planning, town planning is at 2, and then 3:30 is more the opportunity for our neighbors. We've tried to reach out to the HOAs and others, folks that are really in that direct area of our neighbors, and try to let them see and share some suggestions, concerns, and other things, and just have that engagement with our engineers, architects, and construction. Yes, sir.
Not to belabor the point, but in our agenda packet, it did propose in the letter of support, mentioned that the total number of beds would be over 300.
I understand. That could have been my mistake. I apologize if it was. No, we're just at 222.
Okay, thank you.
It could be wishful thinking, though.
There you go. Any others? So we did provide a letter of support to the request made by Advent on their previous bid request. You have a letter that may need some correction based on Councilman Jackson's observation. But is there a motion to provide that letter of support for this new edition of beds?
I'll make that motion.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Fields.
I truly appreciate it. Thank you. It's an honor to work together on this. Thank you.
Next up is code amendments, chapter 20 regarding conditional districts. And Planning Director Eller, will you give us a reminder of what we're talking about here?
Be happy to. Good evening, Mayor and Council. Let me back up into the meeting, back to the public hearing stage, and make sure it's noted for the record that the public hearing was duly advertised in accordance with town ordinance and state law. And also note that these proposed text amendments come to you with unanimous support or a recommendation from your planning board. So in section 203203, which is our generally applicable language for conditional districts, there is a single line of text that is being proposed for elimination. That single line of text basically says that the zoning administrator cannot issue a zoning permit until final plat approval has been achieved. With the understanding that we typically inject into the individual conditional district ordinances sort of the approval process, that line's problematic because it doesn't accurately portray the evolution of development projects. And I'll pick on the hospital as he's already left us. A good example of this and what I shared with the planning board is when they started site work for the hospital 6 weeks or so ago, whenever that was. That site work required retaining walls. Some of those retaining walls are over 10 feet, which means that they're also subject to a building permit. When you have a building permit and you're in the town of Weaverville, they will not progress that case file without a zoning permit from the town. So it's problematic. These zoning permits are issued quite literally before these projects come out of the ground and certainly nowhere near final plat approval. That with the understanding that we're generally setting out each project's timeline and approval processes. In worst case scenario, in the event that we don't do that and we have to fall back on this generally applicable conditional district language, I would not have been able to issue those zoning permits and they would not have been able to begin work on the site work. That's my speech, and hopefully it makes sense to someone other than me, but happy to answer any questions that anyone may have.
Are there any questions for Mr. Eller? Is there a motion to, any action be taken on this item by council?
Make a motion to remove that required line in the ordinances.
So let me word that if I may for you, Councilman. You move to adopt the ordinance amending Weaverville Town Code, Chapter 20, concerning conditional district zoning as presented. Does that make sense? Is that what you said?
Yes, exactly what I said.
Okay, is there any other discussion on this item? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you. Next item up is, last time we came up with a solution for the streets and stormwater systems at Maple Trace, but I understand there's been some updates, and so Assistant Manager Jackson, would you give us those updates?
Yes, and before I do that, I will take credit for the mistake on the Advent Health. I think I just had a typo there. Instead of just over 200, I typed just over 300, so my apologies on that. So Maple Trace, we've had some good conversations and activity since your last meeting. The Public Works Department has secured an updated quote from TP Howard on the line flushing. This is the 37 sections of stormwater pipe that needed to be flushed. And so we realized that the quote from TP Howard originally was $24,500. It did not reflect the work that the Public Works Department was going to provide, meaning the water tanker and the street sweeper that could vacuum out sort of the debris at the end of the flushing. And so with that taken into consideration, that reduced the quote down to $12,000. Maple Trace HOA has been really good to work with on this. They have agreed to pay $6,000 of that pretty immediately, and then the other $6,000 they would like to bump that out as originally requested to the first quarter of 2026. And so that is proposed as a fee in lieu of stormwater maintenance with a due date of April 1, with a small amount of carrying charge for that. They can pay it off at any point they wish to, as long as it's paid before April 1. There is an amended resolution that sort of outlines this sort of changes to the process. But we do believe that the line flushing, TP Howard should be able to get that flushing done as early as next week, which will leave plenty of time to make sure that if there are any problems encountered, we can get those done. But we fully expect that to work out well. I will be working with the HOA on the right-of-way and the town attorney on a right-of-way deed, and hope to bring that back to you at your next meeting, so that you can formally bring these roads in, and then the paving can proceed as soon as those bids are let. Approved.
Thank you. Any questions or comments for the assistant manager?
After all that, better than 24,000.
It was a good deal.
Well, that shows how much effort we're putting into it.
Right.
It would have cost that much for other employees to do it.
Right.
So, does the council wish to take action to adopt the amended resolution that the assistant manager referred to?
I'll make the motion to adopt the amended resolution as written.
Thank you, sir. All those in favor say aye.
Aye. Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you. Great updates and great movement. Next up is item D, quarterly report from the police department and Chief Oberlin. Come and enlighten us.
Good evening, Mayor, Town Council, residents. I will be mindful of the fact that we're reaching the end of the quarterly report, so I try to be both timely and informative, but if you have questions, jump in at any time. So on the first page here, you should have had some time to review it, but you will see that our calls for service increased like we predicted that they would. The weather broke, more people come out, and we have more to do, jumping from 476 to 630. Skipping to the next slide there, it's just a small breakdown of some of the activities. The citations and warnings go up with the increased traffic, as well as some calls for service concerning parking. So we'll have a lot of parking issues down around the lake that generate some of those warnings. On our activities of interest, in the first one where it says officers have been addressing speed concerns, some of our areas of focus where we're getting the highest violations are on US 2570 Merriman and Aiken Road. And so I did note that that 69 and a 35 is pretty remarkable there to be driving on 2570. And we are trying to get ahead of that as we develop a residential area there. Those impacts at that speed are what cause serious injury. So we are trying to get that to slow down in the area. The CRO spent the day cleaning up graffiti. I did want to point out, I put a little picture there. He went out and is trying to figure out what is the best way to get rid of graffiti, because we are planning a volunteer event. We've had different places reach out to us, like Publix, for example, does community outreach events, and we had a bank that does volunteer days, and they've been asking what they can do. This would be one of our recommendations, is to join us with some of the graffiti removal. Moving down lower, I have officers worked with the WBA to organize and staff the St. Patrick's Day event, and we have the WBA here. I would like to note that that was a success. We had no issues, so I know Social District is new, and we have been trying it out very slowly and tenderly, and they've been great partners with that, and I would consider that a success in the eyes of the police department. And then at the bottom there, the captain that attended the North Carolina Energy Conference in Raleigh, who spoke on durable transportation options. That is all around the electric vehicles, the Mach-E in particular being on patrol fleet. He was so well received, he's been asked to speak at 3 other events. And we have a professional photographer off of Instagram who's asked for a photo shoot, so he'll be here from Florida in June to photograph the electric vehicle. Under training and professional development, I know you've had time to look over it, so I'm just skimming. About midway down, officers completed CPR certification. I neglected to mention that 2 became CPR instructors, and we will make their services available to people, our town employees that need to become CPR certified. Say, for example, if the community center elected to do that with their staff. The evidence technician, I'm sure you all saw the news with Buncombe saying that they were missing so many pieces, so I made sure to highlight the work that she's doing. And she also has a supervisor that conducts monthly audits, so I thought that would be interesting, but they will do anything from find me this piece of evidence to bring me all the paperwork as to why we don't have this piece of evidence, and she is very successful with her audits. And finally, on the complaint page, we have some of our folks from the Reems Creek community that I've been working with. So you see that they have expressed some concern about speed out there. We did use our stat track, which is a stealthy little box that you hide out there so that people are acting genuinely while they go through there, and you can get a real number versus skewing that any. And you'll see that for the most part, we do have what we consider to be people following the speed, traveling at 30 miles an hour or below. We did end up with a few that were traveling 35 to 40, and we have been trying to narrow down when that is and the best way to get that to slow down in that area. It's certainly narrow. They don't have sidewalks, and so most of their dog walkers are in the road, which definitely makes them more nervous when people are coming around blind curves. I thought a couple interesting statistics are their highest traffic day is Wednesday. I'm still scratching my head on why a Wednesday in the middle of the day, but it is. And we went back to 2019 when we did this same traffic study, and we also discovered that right around 11 o'clock, which I noted in here, they also have increased speed. So we've been targeting that because it seems to have been a problem at 11 for whatever reason. We wonder if we're going to catch maybe somebody that works at the golf course and is at the maintenance shed and then over to the clubhouse, or we don't know what it is, but we'll figure it out. And on Wednesday, I'm working with Public Works to go out and evaluate some of their requests for extra signage. Do you have any follow-up questions?
Questions? Excellent. Thank you. And so I will avoid the golf course on Wednesdays.
Yes.
And
don't speed on
don't speed on Wednesday
2570
especially.
Merriman or Aiken Road, because we're
And who would have
you.
thought that Sergeant Mace was old enough to have been an employee for 25 years?
25 years, and he asked for, so we did a gift, but instead of me assuming that I knew what he wanted, I asked if there was something he'd been hoping for, and he said he never had a class ring. And lo and behold, there is a company that makes law enforcement anniversary rings, so he was gifted. If you see him, he's got a fancy, it looks like a class ring, but it's 25 years of service ring that he chose. So
Very
that's
cool.
Thank you. Yeah.
Thank you, Chief. Next item up is a quarterly report from our fire department and Fire Chief Hunter.
Good afternoon, Mayor, Council, Public. Don't have many items to point out of very specific, other than I would like to note that this quarter we did trend upward in call volume. 638 calls in the past quarter. 276 of those were in the North Buncombe district. 267 were in town limits, making the differing total only 9. Very, very balancing between the two districts. Also to note would be the 33% overlapping in call volume. So essentially, that means when one call is out using resources, another call comes into the department for those same resources. Definitely showing increased call volume and increased demand for services. Average call time is 6 minutes, 29 seconds for dispatch to arrive, which is fairly consistent. Moving to the second page with the fire marshal's report. Started with the lower portion on the commercial business inspections. He conducted 65 commercial inspections in the quarter while interacting or leading public education events with over 681 people in 4 events, and of those 650 were younger school age members of the public. So I'd be happy to answer any questions you have.
Any questions or comments for the chief? Oop, you're lucking out.
Thank you. Thank you.
Next, we do have a closed session, and Attorney Freed, would you give us the proper legal language to do so?
I shall. Need a motion to go into closed session pursuant to General Statute 143-31811A6. This is a personnel matter. Consider qualifications, competence, performance, character of initial or continued employment, or to hear grievances or complaints or charges regarding an individual public officer or employee.
Is there a motion to go into closed session?
I'll make that motion.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Okay, we'll meet in a few minutes in the conference room. Thank you, everyone, for being here this evening.
Thank you.
making progress on the wheel sidewalks.
Okay, is that, you guys are figuring it out? And-
Yeah.
Okay.
And, you know, we've got a schedule now, and I think,
Okay.
yeah, I don't know if council has to approve it or not. Anyway, we've also recruited a sculptor to repurpose all of the remnants of the old
Okay,
wheel.
so is that WEDAC doing that? Is town's not doing that?
There's a subcommittee.
Okay, so that lady.
That's going away now.